can't do great work, massive promised land work with a petty attitude. You have to have thick skin. You have to be strong. You have to have some things in place that protect you, because if you're not careful, the offense will become a distraction and you'll put all your energy into settling the offense rather than focusing on the mission, and you'll give up on your calling and come down off your wall to have an argument with how you feel, and you think you got the victory but you lost it because the disruption was a distraction from the purpose of your life. So you be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord.
Albert Einstein said once, he said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. Everything you have, somebody imagined it. Somebody was sitting on the phone one day talking with a cord to the wall and said, man, I wish I could just go outside with this phone. Everybody in here got a cell phone. Somebody got tired of riding in a wagon cross country. I wish we had something that made these wheels move by themselves. We drive cars. Somebody said, I wish we could fly. We got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions.
I expect to reach my goal. Yes, you want to operate with a spirit of expectation. I expect to reach my goal. Never forget one quote that I heard. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. If you expect to reach your goal, prepare yourself now. The guys at the station, they begin to take a liking to me. Build relationships. As you're aware, people deal with people that they know, like, and trust. Come here, yes. Come outside. Who did this? Who cleaned my car? How much do you charge? Oh, nothing, sir. I just wanted to help out. I was providing more service than I got paid for. I was building relationships.
The crows are going to crow, make a lot of noise. The chickens are going to peck. There's going to be gossip, jealousy, criticism. People will have plenty of opinions about how you are to run your life, what you should wear, what you spend your money on, how you should raise your children. Successful people are so focused on their goals, their dreams, they don't pay attention to the crows. Quit letting that poison get in your spirit. You have a destiny to fulfill. God has given you the gift of life. He could have chosen anyone to be here at this time, but He chose you and me. Let's make the most of this day. How much time are you wasting offended, upset, letting difficult people steal your joy? It's time to get focused. Tune out all the negative and run your race with purpose. 2 Kings chapter 2, Elisha was traveling from Jericho to Bethel. As he was walking down the road, these young men came out and started making fun of him because he was bald. They said in verse 23, "Get out of here, you bald head," mocking him again and again. It's in the scripture, "Go away, baldy." Elisha could have been upset, offended. He and his men were bigger, stronger. He could have gone over there and straightened them out, but he didn't take the bait. He said, in effect, "I'm going to stay in peace and let God fight my battles." He understood they were just a bunch of crows, making a lot of noise, trying to get him distracted, engaged in battles that didn't matter. He kept on going. As he walked on, 2 bears suddenly came out of the woods and mauled all 42 boys that were making fun of him. When you let God be your vindicator, He'll take care of who's trying to stop you. He'll deal with the disrespect, the jealousy, people that are doing you wrong. You're an eagle. Don't come down and fight battles that don't matter. You keep soaring. Keep doing the right thing, and God will deal with the crows, the chickens, the turkeys. All that negative chatter is just noise. It cannot stop your destiny. Psalm 45 says, God has anointed us with the oil of joy. When you walk in your anointing, there's an oil on you to where nothing can stick. You're like a Teflon pan. Disrespect will come. People will say hurtful things. The good news is you have a no-stick anointing. You can let that go and it'll slide right off of you, not have any effect. That coworker leaves you out, plays politics. You could be offended, upset, but you have the oil of joy. You just let it go. Someone's rude to you, jumps down your throat. You could be rude back to them. give them a piece of your mind, but like that Teflon pan, it slides right on. You go on and enjoy the day. You weren't created to hold on to things. Offense, disrespect, hurtful words. Next time something happens that could upset you, instead of responding the same way, try a different approach. Father, thank you that I've been anointed with the oil of joy. I'm going to stay in peace. I'm going to focus on my goals, knowing that you are fighting my battle. You can't get rid of the difficult people, but if you'll respond the right way, they won't keep you from having a blessed, productive, favor-filled day. Are you letting things upset you that don't have to upset you? Are you giving away your power, letting what people do determine whether or not you're going to be happy? You need to take control back of your happiness. Quit putting it in someone else's hands. If you're counting on everyone to treat you nice, and be kind, say good things, then you're going to be happy, you're giving them your power. You control your happiness. You have to make up your mind, no matter what people do, no matter what they say, how they treat you, they're not going to steal your joy. They may not want to be happy, but they shouldn't keep you from being happy. They may be rude, angry, disrespectful, but you can't let their issues sour your day. Be like that Teflon pan. Let it bounce off of you and enjoy your day despite what they do. I was at an electronics store to buy some parts for our television equipment. This was back when I worked behind the scenes in production here at Lakewood. The parts were in the back. The staff had to get them for you. I had done this many times before. The man at the counter was on the phone. He wasn't in any hurry to get off. He could see me standing there, but he talked about 15 minutes. I waited patiently. Eventually, he hung up. I thought he would acknowledge me and see what I needed, but he never looked up. Finally, I asked if he could help me. You would have thought I had just insulted him. He said so gruffly, very aggravated, "What do you need?" I asked him for this certain part. He looked at it and said, "We don't carry that. We never have." I told him how I'd purchased it there many times before. His face got real red. Smoke started coming out of his ears. He looked like he's about to explode. He used several curse words and said, "I told you I don't have it. Now don't ask me for it again." I wanted to say, "I'll ask you as many times as I feel like asking. I'll call you in the middle of the night if I want to." But I noticed he was bigger than me, so I just smiled, said, "No problem, just have a nice day." Didn't mean it, but at least I said it. I had to make this choice. Was I going to let his poison get in me, pollute my day, sour my attitude, spend my emotional energy upset, aggravated? Or was I going to be a Teflon pan, have that no-stick anointing, let all that disrespect, the anger, the poison slide right off of me? I decided to let it go. You can't stop people from dumping their garbage, but you can keep your lid on. You don't have to let all their trash get in you. Sometimes we have unrealistic expectations. We think we'll have a good day as long as we don't encounter any rude people, as long as our family says nice things, as long as our coworkers perform perfectly, then we'll stay in peace. That's not reality. Difficult people are all around. There will be someone that can steal your joy, get you offended, leave you out, say something that's not true. The key is not trying to avoid it, it's to handle it the right way. Don't take the bait. Don't let the offense stay. Don't dwell on the negative comments. Keep yourself oiled up to where you don't let anything stick. This is how you live happy, not by avoiding difficult people, but by not taking their garbage, by not responding to them the way they treated you. It's by being an eagle, by rising higher than the offense, the hurt, the jealousy. When God can trust you to do the right thing when it's hard, there's no limit to how high He will take you. There was a man walking down the street with his friend to get a newspaper. When they arrived at the corner store, the clerk in the small newsstand was very cold, inconsiderate, not friendly at all. The man bought the paper and said politely, "I hope you have a great day." As they walked away, his friend said, "Is that clerk always that rude?" The man said, "Yes, every morning." He said, "Well, are you always that nice to him?" The man said, "Yes, every morning." The friend looked puzzled and said, "Why?" The man said, "I've made up my mind. I'm not going to let one person ruin my day." Like him, you have to have a made-up mind. You're not going to let one negative comment ruin your day. You're not going to let a disrespectful coworker, a classmate that's making fun of you, a driver that cuts you off in traffic to sour your day. Decide ahead of time, I'm putting on the oil of joy. Whatever comes my way, negative comments, disrespect, rude people, that's going to slide right off of me. How much more will you enjoy your life if you'll have this no-stick anointing?
your belief is counted unto you as righteousness. It will make the difference between where you fell short and what I call you to be. The last mile of the way is filled in simply by faith. That's a really good deal.
Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. Let me share something with you. You can learn all the techniques in the world. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen for you.
This is who I am. I am defined by my vision, my purpose, and my goals. That's my playbook. That's my creed. That's what I believe. You see, the reason that's important, if you know who you are, then you know who you are not. If you don't know who you are, somebody can ascribe any identity onto you and you will morph into whatever they want you to be. And that's what has happened with a whole lot of us. Some of us have been 10 or 12 different people depending upon who we were with, because we don't know who we are. We become whoever they want us to be. And then when they leave us, we are confused because we have no real understanding of who we are.
All of the power that you have and all of the strength that you have and all the ideas that you have are born in your uniqueness. And what makes you unique, and this may sound really silly, but it's just really true. What makes you unique is what makes you special. And if you don't, if you spend your whole life trying to conform, trying to be what somebody else thinks you should be, or fit into a mold or fit into a system, and you dull down your specialness, then you're dulling down all of your ability to change the world. So I think that it's very, very important that people have an opportunity to be the best of themselves that they can be.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you believed that? Wouldn't you sleep good tonight if you believed that? Wouldn't you walk around with your head up and your back straight if you believed that? Say it again, I can do all things. You wouldn't be intimidated by anybody, anywhere, at any time if you just believe that. Say it again, I can do all things. Can you imagine how different your job interview would go if you really believed that and walked in, they said, what do you do? I can do. Imagine if you were taught that from the time you were born into the world. The first thing your mama told you when they spanked you on the behind is, don't worry about it, baby. You can do all things. We quote it, but we don't believe it.
I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not gonna believe in myself any less. If you believe that I'm irrelevant, that no one is checking for me, and that I don't mean anything to the world, because you think or believe that about me, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna believe it about myself. See, the day that you start living your life according to everybody else's opinion is the beginning of the end. Most of y'all, I see it every day, all day. Most of you guys don't actually know your self-worth. You don't know your self-value. So you're like a vulnerable little child and you're shaking. And it's like, everybody loves me this week, so I love me this week. Next week, it drops. So now you're running around insecure, feeling self-conscious, and not loving yourself, sad and depressed, based on the feedback, the responses, and the energy that the rest of the world is giving you.
Okay, so imagine that something glimmers before you. It's an interest that's dawning, and you decide, well, first of all, you're paralyzed. You think, well, how do I know if I should pursue that? It's probably a stupid idea. And the proper response to that is, you're right, it probably is a stupid idea, because almost all ideas are stupid. And so the probability that as you move forward on your adventure that you're going to get it right the first time is zero. It's just not going to happen. And so then you might think, well, maybe I'll just wait around until I get the right idea, and which people do, right? So they're like 40-year-old, 13-year-olds, which is not a good idea. And so they wait around until it's waiting for Godot, until They finally got it right, but the problem is you're too stupid to know when you've got it right. So waiting around isn't going to help, because even if the perfect opportunity manifested itself to you in your incomplete form, the probability that you would recognize it as the perfect opportunity is zero. You might even think it's the worst possible idea that you've ever heard of anywhere. Highly likely, highly likely. And so you can take these tentative steps on your pathway to destiny, and you can assume that you're going to do it badly. And that's really useful, because you don't have to beat yourself up. It's pretty easy to do it badly. But the thing is, it's way better to do it badly than not to do it at all.
You'll be surprised of the ideas that will come to you, of the people that you'll be able to attract, of the opportunities that you'll be able to see. You'll begin to see things that have been standing there looking you in the face, say, I can't believe this has been here all this time. Here's a habit that I do. Maybe it might be of some value to you. I get up in the morning and I start writing what great ideas that I can think of today that can improve me and that will enable me to reach my goal. And I just let my mind flow. Sometimes I write 15, 20 ideas. Some days it's more difficult than others. One idea can change your life.
See, anybody who's ever done anything, who's ever taken a chance, doesn't mean that they're not afraid. Courageous does not mean being the absence of fear. I think that being courageous is willing to do it because that's what you feel, and you're going to do it anyhow, regardless. So you're not going to be immobilized by your fears or your doubts. You admit, okay, I'm scared to death. Now, okay, what is it that I must choose to do? Go ahead and experience that fear, but don't let that fear immobilize you.
I'm telling y'all right now, the day that you allow the opinions of everybody on the outside world to define your day-to-day, month-to-month, and year-to-year, it's the beginning of the end. Love yourself, believe in yourself, independent of the validation of the world. Have opinions and feelings about yourself, independent of the feedback.
Those of you who are dealing with things, walking through situations in this life, those dreamers in here who are trying to build a dream, everything seems to be going fine, and all of a sudden you hear something. There's a rumbling. Something is happening that is trying to distract you. You've got anxiety. You can't sleep. You're tossing and turning all night long, wondering what is going on. God, what is going on in this moment? What is going on? What is happening right now? I've been there. It's a very difficult place when you know that you've got anxiety all over you.
You have to go from being a person of good intentions to a person of good actions. That's the great separator. To develop yourself, you've got to get out of the intending world and get into the doing world. In fact, your good intentions are good intentions, but they're worthless. Totally worthless. The most overrated phrase in the world is good intentions. I know all kinds of people, they have good intentions, but they never do good because they didn't act upon what they do. So if you want to develop yourself and you want to get better, just act on what you've already expressed that you want to do. The moment you quit talking about it and start doing it, now you've got something. I had a friend named Randy one time who came to me and said, John, your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks a lot louder than your talk talks. That's true. Become a person of action today.
Key phrase, faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. And that's how things exist. How did this hotel get here? Someone saw it while the property was vacant. You say, well, is it possible to see this hotel when it isn't here? And the answer is yes, of course. If somebody cannot see it when it is not here, then it will never be here. So it's possible to see things that don't yet exist. When should you start building this hotel? This is a good question for your philosophical musings. When should we start building the house? When should we start? And here's the answer. As soon as it's finished. You wouldn't start building the house until you had it finished. If you just started laying bricks and somebody came around and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just laying bricks. And said, what are you building? And you said, I have no idea. See, they'll take you away to a safe place. So have you got that now? It's possible to finish something before you start. In fact, it would be a bit foolish to start until you had it finished. We've heard the old expression, don't count your chickens until they're hatched. No, we have the ability to count our chickens long before they're hatched. Because we know, we have faith, we believe. We use the law of averages. There's bound to be at least so many. So it's possible to see the end and then begin. Start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, and where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there, see yourself in possession of. Decide what you want and act as if it was already yours. Now, the reason we can act thinking that it's already ours is because not only can we vision the end results, we can also vision the beginning of making it real. So we don't start till it's finished, but it is possible for human beings to finish something before they start.
How you talk and act while playing volleyball on a Saturday afternoon probably isn't the same as how you talk and act around a group of people who want to invest in your company. How you communicate with your old friends and family members is probably an abbreviated version of how you should communicate in a high-powered business setting. When you meet a new group of people, you must watch and listen and be alert before you decide on the appropriate communication style. You might greet old friends with a slap on the back and a tasteless joke, but you certainly wouldn't greet a multi-million-dollar opportunity that way. You must take a few moments to study the temperament of your audience. Listen to how they communicate with each other. Watch how they react to situations and comments. Study your audience, lest you engage in some behavior that will prove inappropriate and costly. Some people would make about $150,000 a year, but they have to be satisfied with about $50,000 because their behavior is costing them the rest of it. They've got the skills, but their behavior is costing them. Keep setting them aside. So let's talk about some of those things in the marketplace that might cost you more than you want to pay. Here's one: bad language. You've got to be careful with language in the marketplace. You've got to be careful here. Some language is more appropriate for the bar. So what should you do? Leave it in the bar. Or else what? You'll have to pay the consequence. We must all be students of consequences, things that cost us, and language is one of the most important ones to consider. Language in the marketplace. Now, if you cuss and tell dirty jokes in the marketplace, that's acceptable to who? Other people in the marketplace who cuss and tell dirty jokes. You've got no problem with them. Matter of fact, they'll probably enjoy having you around. But if you cuss and tell dirty jokes to those who will be offended, then what? They certainly won't want to have you around. And what happens then? It'll cost you. Next one, being late. In some circles it's acceptable, but I'm telling you, most people view being late as being disrespectful. Disrespectful of their time. And if they feel that you're disrespectful of their time, they'll also feel you're disrespectful of their business. Why? Because everything affects everything. Now, if you have a legitimate excuse and your reputation already says that you're punctual, then you might get away with it a time or two. But be careful about being late. One day you just may be too late to close the deal. Be on time. You've also got to be careful about using inside lingo on the outside world. Your industry's buzzwords are just that. Your industries. Be careful not to use this terminology on the outside. People who speak computer language, they've got to learn to shift gears when they go out into the open marketplace. So watch your lingo. Remember to shift gears from the inside lingo to the outside world. You've got to become a good judge of character. Why? To protect yourself. There are shepherds, and there are sheep, and there are wolves. And we must be wise and understand that some wolves are so clever, they've learned to dress up like sheep. But do not miss the story of the full drama of life called good and evil. Awareness, sensitivity, understanding, knowing the scenario and being on alert for what is called the inevitable. We must learn to be a good judge of character. And here's something else we must learn to do to work well with others. We must learn to deliver criticism and express anger in a safe way. It's inevitable. During the course of working with others, it's inevitable that you'll come across some situation that'll result in anger. Or criticism needs to be handed down. It's just a part of life, that you delegate some responsibility, and through either a lack of good communication or a lack of good listening on the other end, it's inevitable that some situation will get you all hot and bothered. Now what do you do with your anger? You can't lash out. You can't lash out at your children or your friends or your colleagues. But here's what you can do, and here's what you must do. Lash out at the problem or the situation. Honey, you say to your teenager, you know I love you, but what you did was wrong. I hate it that you took the car without asking first. And I especially hate it that you got a speeding ticket. What were you thinking? So whatever the punishment might be, make sure you're punishing the bad deed, not the person. Your assistant ends up sending the contract to the seller instead of the buyer. Make sure your assistant knows that you appreciate him, but you don't appreciate the wrongdoing. Whatever criticism you hand down, whatever anger you're processing, make sure that the one to receive it knows full well that you care about the person, but hate what they did. And if you're too steamed up to be this rational about it, make sure to keep your mouth closed until you've cooled off a bit. In Dale Carnegie's book, The Leader in You, he describes the attributes of kind criticism. He quotes Andres Navarro's technique of kind criticism as the 3-for-1 rule. If you don't like something about the way someone works, write down the problem. But before you confront that person with criticism, discover 3 good things about the person. Noticing 3 good things gives you the right to criticize 1 bad thing. Interesting thought. Criticism after appreciation. With well-delivered words, well-chosen words, you can admonish the doing without admonishing the doer. This is important. You love the person. You hate the act. Make sure they know the difference. You don't have to couch the words. You don't have to hide your anger or disappointment. But you do have to make sure that your communication is effective so that the wrongdoing will never be done again.
Well, I think any business, doesn't matter if you're coming from the moon or you've been here forever or not been here at all, you have to find, you can't just come up with an innovation. People say, well, innovation is the key. I know that all businesses, Deming talked about this. So many different teachers have talked about it. It's all marketing and innovation. Drucker used to say, all businesses is marketing innovation. Well, what is that? Innovation is finding a better way to meet people's needs than anybody else does. And it's not enough just to innovate. You got to keep innovating. Apple's a perfect example. It's the most successful company in the world, but the leader was such an innovator. He drove an innovation culture that right now they're in a little bit of a lull. Now, most of us are hoping that they're going to turn that corner. But they're still doing great products, but they're not real breakthroughs. They're giving us some of the same stuff, but they're not making it unique enough. And then the second part of a business is marketing, which is getting people to want to do business with you. Well, today we live in a world where it used to be that you could put out, the average person would watch advertisements, and after 4 ads, on average, at least in America, I don't know what it is in Europe, if they were going to buy, they would take some initial buying action. Now it takes 16 exposures. So the cost is gone crazy. So how do you break through that? The only way to break through that, some people do it by spending so much money and creating crazy ads that make you pay attention because they're so funny or bizarre or raw. But a lot of those ads, you don't buy their product. You laugh. You know the company, but you don't buy their product. Because it's not necessarily bringing you in. The other way a small business can do it is you've got to figure an innovation that meets a need that's missing. It's not enough just to have innovation. A lot of business owners go, I have this great idea and I'm so excited and they're going to go launch it. But there's not that big a need. And if you're going to build a business of scale, it has to feel a significant need in an innovative way, and then you got to market it. Now, how do you market it? Well, the best marketing of all is having a product that meets people's needs so well that the word of mouth is off the charts. And then the second way to do it, because there's no replacement for that word of mouth. And then the second way, and by the way, that's what's made my career go for 36 years, People saying, oh my God, not it was good, not it had a good time. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. There's nothing like it. You got to go. People think they're crazy until they go and get an experience. But then on the other side of it, you can also market today and have a huge advantage if you make your mentality of marketing what I call VAM, V-A-M, value added marketing, where instead of trying to compete for eyeballs, you go find out who that client is and you find a way to meet their needs and you do things for them that really meet their needs. I don't care if it's educate them, provide them an insight, something that gives them more convenience. The actual marketing itself does that for people. And then they begin to understand you, recognize you, like you, trust you, and want to do business with you. And that's the way to do it today because for example, I was at Nike and they called me up and they said, we want you to do a TV ad for us. And I said, look.
I saw it.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Amazing.
So my first response was, I don't do commercials because I did silly infomercials for years because it was the only way to reach people, but I don't do commercials. And they came back and they said, but a bunch of your friends are going to do it. And I said, really? They go, yeah, we're going to have Richard Branson and Serena Williams and Kanye West.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant. And I'm like, and he said, it's going to be you and they're going to be the center of it. We're going to pretend Kobe is you. And they give me this whole thing. And so I called Richard and I said, are you really going? He goes, yeah, I'm going. And Serena, I'm really going. So we go to do this piece. You imagine how much money they spent to get all those people in one room to do this tongue-in-cheek ad that really doesn't change. It's nothing about the product whatsoever. It's just to try to get your eyeballs and attention. So most small businesses don't have those resources. They have to make up with it with an extraordinary product that meets the needs, and they got to make up with it by finding a way to do value-added marketing so that people say, this is someone I want to do business with. You can blow out a Nike if you can create a direct relationship with the consumer, and you can do that today because of social media and because of the impact of social media when you serve people.
At the end of the day, a lot of times people think inwardly about their company or their product. A lot of times I want to think, what am I promising the consumer? And how will I deliver that promise? I have to think about what's in it for that end of the day person who's going to come out of their pocket and buy it. So what am I promising? How am I gonna deliver it? And now do I have the assets to deliver it accurately? What changed my life wasn't the fact that I wanted to become a millionaire. What changed my life was the fact that I wanted to make these clothes for myself, for other people, because nobody respected this market. I was doing something I loved, and then all of a sudden it started to take off.
Can you tell me a little bit about that once that passion finally, caught on, and you finally decided, this is something that I want to move forward with, and a little bit about that first product and how it kind of all took off from there. And then did you ever decide, at that point it was like no slowing you down, right?
Yeah, well, you know, when that passion, when that thing grabs a hold of you, and as they say, when the needle is finally in the vein, and you're really hooked, it's like being in love. It's like, you know, you thought you liked somebody when you were 13, 14 years old, and you know that was just something new, and it was puppy love. But when you're 22, 23 years old, and you're out there sitting there making life decisions and saying, I can see myself with this person for the rest of my life, and you're getting butterflies every time you see them. That's what it is when you have a business and you have a company that you love. You can't see anything else. And you know, I would have dressed people till today for free if I could. And I'm sure you hear that from everybody else. You know, an artist will rap and sing, you know, anytime they can be seen. And just like the kids in school who got kicked out in special ed who are comedians, they can't help it. They know that that's the biggest bully in the schoolyard, and they can't help it but crack a joke, even though they're going to get their head cracked open, but they just love what they're doing. And that's just how it was as a business. You know, when I fell in love with FUBU when I saw that first person walking down the street with my product on.
And for like an entrepreneur, not forget a salesperson, how about just an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business? Well, if you can't sell, if you can't influence, if you can't persuade, good luck trying to get your business off the ground. I'm not talking about just your customers. I'm talking about the bankers, the people with venture capitalists, your vendors, your credit card processor, the people who work for you. How do you get people to work for you excited? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to want to buy into your vision? At the highest level, what sales really is the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is this emotion of certainty. That someone feels certain, yeah, it's a good thing, it's going to help me, it's going to fill my need. When you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to start a business, and you're recruiting people, well, you're selling people on your vision for the future, your vision for this company. If you can't do that, good luck trying to get great people to work for you. It's nearly impossible, which is why you always see, you know, the people, they say, oh, he's a visionary. Well, that's true, but typically not only are they visionaries, they also possess the ability to sell the vision to other people, to inspire them, to motivate them. So selling is not just like, you know, people think of selling, oh, well, I'm not a salesman, I don't need to. Well, yes, you do. You need to learn how to influence. How about trying to get your kids to make their bed, or do their homework, or believe in the value of education? How about trying to get a landlord to give you a reduction on your rent, or to extend the lease the way you want? How about trying to negotiate terms? You understand, it cuts to everything. So I always look at this, say, you know, when I say I cracked the code on influence, what I really did essentially was I was, you know, by working backwards almost, by saying I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning, say what has to happen before someone says yes. I was able to take that and put it into this system that took the no-name, talentless guys and turned them into millionaires.
There's a brilliant leader by the name of David Marquet who wrote a book called Turn the Ship Around. And he had an experience as a submarine captain on the USS Santa Fe, where he realized that as much as he knew about submarining, you know, he'd been a submariner his whole career, that put on this new submarine, he learned the hard way that he actually didn't know how the submarine worked. He made an order that nobody knew how to do it because that didn't exist on that sub. And so he realized he had no choice but to trust his people. And he went through this transformation as a leader of telling everybody what to do to allowing people to tell him what should be done. And I've learned a lot from him, and I highly recommend his book. And I've really learned that, which is, you know, at the top of the organization, as David says, the people have all the authority, the leaders have all the authority, but at the bottom they have all the context, right? And so you can't just push all the context up, you have to push the authority down. And so the responsibility of leadership is to train people, make sure that they have the skill set, help build their confidence that they have the confidence to do what needs to be done. Yeah. They have to have competence and confidence. Right. And that's your job. That's the only job of the leader. It's like a parent. Mm-hmm. Make sure they have competence and confidence. You know, make sure your kids get schooling and make sure that they believe in themselves. And then leave them, you know? And so I've done the same thing. Instead of sort of showing people how I would do it, I want them to learn how it's done, you know, and feel good about themselves, and then just however they do it is how they do it. Yeah. You know, and the result is remarkable. people feel better about coming to work. They feel like they have something to contribute. They feel more valuable, as opposed to just being told, this is how I would do it, or I'm going to do it this way, or do it my way. Completely changing my understanding of my job as more like a parent than a manager has had remarkable impact.
We are not a company that normally China call. We call ourselves a company running a platform, a company that is running an ecosystem. We are almost everywhere. People say, Jack, you are in the B2B and B2C, and you're calling C2B on the finance and online payment, logistics, cloud computing. You are everywhere. Not because we're greedy, not because we want to do it, because we have to do it. If we do not do it, China e-commerce in the years will collapse. I remember 9 years ago when I started Alipay, people say, Jack, don't touch the financing sector because it's illegal, you may be in prison. And we taught ourselves if we don't do it, the China e-commerce will always like a chat room. Everybody say, it's a good thing, and I don't pay, you don't get the things. So I say, well, put me in the prison. Let's make sure that Alipay, the payment solution, works. And people say the payment solution is such a stupid idea. It's an escrow service. I pay you, hold the money, and you get the things. You pay the money. If you don't get the things you want, return the money. They say it's a stupid product. And I say, as long as it solves the problem. I like stupid things, Let's make stupid things smart. Keep on improving every day.